Hello again. Welcome to chapter 7, Apply What You Know. We have two questions for this video. Okay, let's start with the first one. Due to weak local economy, business is slow at the Hyman House, a 300-room hotel owned by the Hyman family. Last month's ADR was $159. Now, occupancy was 58.5%, down from the previous same month occupancy of 65%. Bill and Rebecca forecast that this month's occupancy will be about the same, 58.5%, considering the same ADR. And they are discussing about this issues. So we are down 6.5 occupancy point from the last year. That's a 10% decline. We need to cut prices so we can fill these rooms, says Andrew. If we increase our discounts, I think we can shoot for $139 ADR, sell more rooms, and get our revenue back. Now, assumption here is new rate strategy is going to be implemented, and of course the predictions are correct, and we need to answer some questions. Now, questions are here. Basically, you can read all. The idea here is, of course, we want to make more money, but the first questions, these questions focuses on what is the minimum required to get at least like last month's revenue, and how many rooms you need to sell, what the occupancy is going to be, and what kind of changes. As usual, please try to consider it, solving it yourself, and come back and we will solve it. Now, I am assuming that you looked at least the questions, and let's start with the questions first. First things you want to consider is we assume that last month and this month each contain 30 days. In your questions, if there is no specifically giving month, like, so for example, February 28 days, if it's not giving specifically, you should always assume that months are 30 days. Now, first thing, if there is a 30 days in a month, there are 9,000 rooms available for the last month, and considering the occupancy, we sold 5,265 rooms in 1 month, and total revenue is going to be this month's how many rooms, and monthly revenue is going to be $837.35. Now, because we want to look at for the minimum numbers, because, like, for example, what will be the percentage change in occupancy required to equalize the rooms revenue achieved last month? So we will get minimum number is going to be this month's revenue. I mean, last month's revenue is going to be this month's revenue. That's the minimum numbers for the given price. How many rooms you need to sold? The idea is, of course, you want to sell more than that, but what is the minimum required? Now, of course, this is the exact same 9,000 rooms. Now, to able to achieve this number, how many rooms we need to sell? Okay, first we need to get this monthly revenue, right, divided by assumed ADR. We need to sell at least 6,023 rooms, and the occupancy of that is going to be this number divided by total available, which is 66.9%. And if you calculate the percentage change, let's not forget new minus old divided by old, 14.4%. Now, one of the questions also asking the ADR change. We will do the same thing. New minus old divided by old. Of course, that number is negative because ADR decreases. Now, if you look at the questions quickly, how many total rooms would have to be sold? 6,023. What will be the percentage change in ADR experienced? Is negative 12.6%. What will be the percentage change in occupancy required to equalize the rooms revenue achieved last month? Minimum rooms to be sold for the same revenue, which is 14.4% change, and total occupancy has to be 66.9%. Once again, this is the minimum numbers. When you lower the price, minimum number you need. Of course, you need to sell more in order to increase your revenue. But for the given questions, those are the answers. And why does a 10% decrease in ADR require more than 10% increase in occupancy percentage? I mean, in this case, the question asking ADR decreased only 12.6%. Why we need to increase occupancy 14.4%? Let's think it this way. Let's say you have 100. If you get 10% discount, you will end up with 90. But if you add 10%, 90%, like 90 times 10% is going to be 99. So that's how the percentages works. Actually, you need 11.2% to get the exactly 100% again. What additional factors would you suggest Bill and Rebecca mentioned these owners as they discussed the advisability of this proposed strategy? I mean, this is a good idea in a sense, because assumption is this is going to increase demand. Of course, the idea here is it needs to be increased more than 14.4%, right? That's the minimum required. Basically, they need to get more than 66.9% occupancy. But of course, we talked about the previous question as well. You need to consider two things: associated cost, like cleaning the rooms, etc., wear and tear in the property. But if this is a property with the other amenities such as food and beverage, spa, maybe additional revenue that can bring to. So two important things. First, that's the minimum numbers required. Second, you need to consider always additional factors when you calculating this kind of questions. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now, in this case, Sherry is the revenue manager and the 200-room Kingston Harbor Inn. The inn has 5 different room types, each with rec rate that reflects its guest view of each room type's value. Sherry knows she cannot upsell guests who stay in her highest rated rooms, as expected. However, she feels there is a good potential to impact her hotel's revenue performance via upsells to guests who originally reserved one of 4 lower price room types. Sherry created and implemented comprehensive upsell training program for her hotel's front desk. The cost of providing the upsell training to the inn's 8 desk staff was $100 per employee. At the end of the first week of the program's implementation, Sherry found that her clerks was successfully at upselling approximately 1 of every 10 guests. So basically, they increased about 10%. And a summary of the inn's guest reservation actual stay records is displayed here. Complete the summary for her and then provide Sherry with answers she needs for the questions that follow. And let's look at questions quickly. What will the inn's ADR have been? And what's the ADR actually achieved? What will be the in total room revenue? What was the total rooms revenue and as a result of the upsell? What was the amount increased room revenue? And what was the percent of increase? And also basically it's all calculations. Please, as usual, just stop the video here and try to solve everything by yourself and come back. Okay, now let's calculate all these lines quickly. Now, first thing is here, right? If you look at, you basically, this is the night reserved for 75 rooms, and that's the rec rate for this parlor suite, and that's the reserve revenue from this property. Okay, let's do the same thing for everything else. Okay, now let's add all those things to get the total revenue. Let's make it a little bigger. Now 264,490. And if you look at it here, it's already calculated. Total nights been reserved was 1,000. So if in this case, then ADR is going to be total revenue divided by the room sold, which is $264.49. Now, these are after the upsell, okay? Let's calculate the same thing for these. Times actual night use. This is the same because, I mean, that's the highest room. You cannot upsell anymore. But other rooms all increase numbers. The idea here is we are trying to be getting exactly the same number of nights selling, right? The idea is not increasing how many people's coming, but increasing the revenue by upselling. So for example, Parlor Suite was 100, now is 110. This was 125, 140. Deluxe was 250, 275. Of course, all there's like 450 was here. The standard people dropped to 50. Those 50 people has been went to different or choose different kind of rooms. That's the idea here. And let's calculate the same thing. Let's make it a little bigger. This is also ADR calculation. Let's do the same thing. 1,000 room. So increase is 268.75. Now, what will ADR have been if all are? Now we calculated this. What was the ADR actually achieved by the in-user upsell program? We calculated that. What could will be the in total rooms revenue? We calculated that here, and also with the upsell program is here. Let's make this a little bit. Let's do this. Okay. Now upsell program, we calculated that. What was the amount of the increased room revenue? Let's put it this way. Increase in room revenue. Okay, it's basically this number minus this number, $4,300. What was the percentage increase? Let's put it this way, percentage. I cannot write. Increase. If you look at this, there is the increase. Increase from where? From this number. So let's make this percentage. Format cells. Percentages. So it's about 1.63%. Now, last questions asked as in the first week representative. Okay, first we calculated this is a weekly data, right? So they are asking also what about the yearly annual revenue. What we are going to do is we are going to multiply these numbers by 52. Now, think about it here for a second. We spent about a little bit. We spend about $800, right? Because there is an 8 desk staff for $100 per employee. Because of the simple training program, it might not always work this perfectly, but is generate additional $4,300 a week and almost $223,000 a yearly increase in the revenue. So this is a very good upsell program, assuming that is implemented and working and the way it's supposed to be. So these are the couple examples from our Apply What You Know. Thank you.